All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started now. Once again, thank you again for attending our webinar today on business objects and crystal reports for J.D. Edwards. We'll be walking through a few slides today and then get into the live demonstration, as that's where we'll spend most of our time. As for the agenda, brief overview about preferred strategies, business objects, our BI quick launch. We'll do the live demo, come back for kind of just share implementation timeline, and then we'll announce the gift card winner and address questions at the end. As far as questions go, there should be a GoToMeeting control panel on the side of your screen. You can go ahead and minimize that. I think there's a white arrow and an orange box or red box, and that'll minimize to the side. Inside of that, though, is a questions panel. You can go ahead and post your questions in there, and that's what we'll refer to when we address questions at the end. So feel free to ask questions as we go, and then we'll look at those and address those at the end of the session. So preferred strategies, who we are. We've been around since 2002. I'm actually the founder of the company. I used to work for a J.D. Edwards customer for about 3 or 4 or 5 years, and doing implementations, report writing, things like that out of JDE. And really started our company around helping J.D. Edwards customers learn how to write crystal reports. And then over the years, we've branched into the full suite of business objects, BI, and analytics, as well as the footprint outside of business objects with Microsoft BI reporting analytic technologies, as well as Oracle. We support both Direct Connect and Data Warehouse, and we have a Jumpstart Data Warehouse as well, which we'll be doing a session tomorrow on that. Today's session, everything that we're going to present is going to be all Direct Connect, real-time access at JDE Data. We had a couple sessions last week that we have out on the website, so we're happy to point to that at the end of the session as well. Should be prompted a survey, so you can go ahead and ask questions there, and if you want a copy of the recording that we're doing, go ahead and specify that there. As far as implementation goes, we're kind of a full-service organization. We've got these jump starts where we've spent thousands of hours building out content for JDE. For BI, we're a little different than many other companies in that we haven't built our own BI reporting software. We've chosen just to leverage the market leaders out there, Business Objects, Oracle, Microsoft, and leverage their technologies with already the tailored content for JDE. We also have a training program and consulting program as well. So what makes J.D. Edwards reporting a challenge? First off, there's thousands of tables in the system, cryptic table names and field names. Dates are stored in a Julian format, amounts and units stored without decimals. So those are just the way the data is stored, but not all data is structured the same. So there might be data type mismatches. So a numeric field in one table may be an alphanumeric in another, might be 8 characters in one and 25 in another. So there's just a lot of, to get the data that you need across modules and across the system out from an analytic perspective requires some legwork. And also doing things like the time-based metrics, month-to-date, year-to-date, quarter-to-date. Those types of calculated objects don't sit in the system that way. They have to be calculated as part of the reporting process. So as far as different BI approaches, there are 3 approaches we support. We support each of these individually as well as a hybrid of these. But Direct Connect, Operational Data Store, which is kind of a mirror of the transaction system, just to offload reporting for the most part and redirect reporting to a separate database. Or you can restructure data into a data warehouse. For our data warehouse, we've chosen to model around a true star schema. Data warehouse, kind of more of a Kimball structured warehouse. And each of these has their own pros and cons, and each one of these may or may not be the right fit for every company. So that's where it takes an understanding of the different type of BI approaches and to figure out which makes most sense for your organization given your specific requirements and profile of company. As far as the business objects goes, of all the things, we support the Microsoft and the Oracle business objects from an end-to-end perspective. It's been kind of a market share leader for quite some time in the BI space and reporting. That's kind of their specialty. So as far as a end-to-end kind of all-encompassing solution to cover dashboards and visualization, analytics and reporting and ad hoc integration with Microsoft Office, mobile, I mean, this is kind of, if you're looking for a true solution across the board, this is, our recommended approach. We're going to walk through a lot of this today. We'll show you, some dashboards and some analytics and reporting and some ad hoc, and then even show you all this on a mobile device on an iPad as well. So what's our Jumpstart? So that's kind of just the BI software, runs on a web server, but Preferred Strategies has spent, again, thousands of hours building out pre-built content for J.D. Edwards. We've got 100-plus templates and report samples for Crystal, tailored across, I think 14 JDE modules. We also have that's kind of for a lot of the core reports and financial management type reports. There's also a concept of a BI semantic layer or a universe, and BusinessObjects kind of founded this concept, where you kind of, inside of this layer, you address a lot of the translation of the data to get the data in an intuitive format for the end users to be able to drag and drop. And so when we show you some drag and drop reporting in this session today, a lot of it is based on this concept of a universe, or this BI semantic layer of BusinessObjects, which is what we also deliver 30 some odd universes for JDE as well. And these are the different modules that we support. So we're going to be covering for the session today more around the GL, some of the other financials, sales, and purchasing. We'd be happy to do a one-off with anybody that's online to a specific module of interest of yours. So just specify in your survey at the end that you'd like someone to follow up with you, and we'd be happy to coordinate that. So again, here's kind of the layout for the live demonstration. We're going to start by kind of logging in as a CFO, walking through some financial management dashboard, drill down from a dashboard to, let's say, a P&L, drill down through a P&L from the highest level summary in the business all the way down to the GL transactions, to an AP invoice, to the purchase order, stuff like that. And then we'll kind of show you some other types of viewing and scheduling and how you can package reports together and view like a financial month-end reporting package. So that'll be kind of the finance side, and then we'll actually look at, on the sales side, what's called exploration, or like a sales analysis type view, and then we'll kind of do some ad hoc. So if you wanted to truly build a report from scratch and drag and drop, we'll show you that in the sales and purchasing example. And then we'll end the session by logging into an iPad and navigating to the BusinessObjects BI app and access some content and show that as well. So that's kind of it for what the plan. So let me go ahead and, like I said, if you have any questions along the way, feel free to post those. Let me go ahead and just... All right, so I'm logging in here to a demo server, and you can see here I'm going to log in as the CFO. So go ahead and specify my login. Notice also here, AD, you can kind of authenticate with Active Directory, single sign-on. So when you access this, you don't have to ever specify a login. I'm going to go ahead and log in right now. So based on the different users, you'll see some different folders here, a couple sample folders of content. Based on the type of content that a user should see would control what folders and content that they would have access to when they log into the system. I've also had the CFO have the general accounting folder maybe be the default. Maybe you set up an executive folder and put specific dashboards and stuff in there. If I go ahead and right click on this financial management dashboard and choose view, it'll open this up here on the screen. So this is an example of like a financial management dashboard where we've got a few different tabs in this dashboard. First one here, income statement, balance sheet, cash flow, ratios, and trends. So these are interactive. So if we go ahead and click on the different rows of our dashboard, we can kind of see it update the content on the right. If I click on the balance sheet, right, you'll notice you can also have little alerts and traffic lights triggering red, yellow, green based on whatever certain criteria that you have. So that's another way to help visually understand your your position. Looking at cash flow, maybe we've got a little temperature gauge here, cash flow statement, and then we've got an open AR and open AP. And then let's take a look at some ratios and trends. And again, we can kind of click on our different ratios and see those get updated on the right. Here's a quarterly profit trend. Just as an example, this wouldn't be the exact dashboard that every company would want, but it just kind of gives you a flavor where, you know, again, as a CFO, this might be what I'm looking at on a monthly basis to get my pulse on where we're at. If we look back at this, though, you know, this is kind of a very high-level view of the data. So if we want to kind of take a deeper dive into the elements of this, you know, we can go ahead and click on, pick a specific report, maybe underlying the dashboard, and we'll view that. So if I go ahead and choose View, it's going to go ahead and open up. In this case, you know, I want to drill into a consolidated income statement, right? So now we've got, you know, this kind of consolidated view of a P&L. If I click here on the folder structure, you'll see here maybe we've got a breakdown by different divisions or business segments. Within that, we might have different levels of that. Some customers have, you know, company straight to business unit. Some have 5 different levels of category codes and hierarchy. This is one of those reports that we deliver out of a box that we actually modify this to your hierarchy for drill purposes and navigation, as well as the rows, because every company is a little unique in how they roll up their rows on their P&Ls and balance sheets. So looking at the top level here, if I wanted to go ahead, I can see here that my labor, I'm over budget. So I've got my quarter date year, or actual versus budget, year to date, $3.9 million over for labor. So let's take a look at that. If I go ahead and click into that, and actually drill through the report, so now I can see that actually the majority of that is actually coming in medical electronics, where we're better than planned in LED lighting and telecom. If I go ahead and drill into medical electronics, we might see, again, the next breakdown there. So again, that kind of gives you you know, a quick example of how you can drill through a report at any level, and you can kind of take that whatever is the intuitive path, and that's, you know, something that we help get set up as part of the process. If I want to look at maybe medical electronics at any of these levels here, it'll give me that summary page. I can then drill in from that as well. You can also go down just to kind of show you, you know, how deep we can go here. If I look at, in this example, I've got rent expense. I've got $8,000 of rent expense for the year, and I want to find out what makes up those dollars, right? So if I click on rent, and it'll break it down. So if I had multiple accounts within rent or multiple subsidiaries, or, you know, you could add different subledgers if you wanted. I'm going to go ahead and drill in to this account. So what this is doing, it's drilling from our summary P&L down to the GL transaction. So now we can actually see here on the general ledger, passing over from that specific line, I can see here's all $8,000, and I can see the breakdown by the different months. If I want to look at maybe the journal entry distribution for this $594 for July activity, I can click on that. Again, it'll pull up another example report on top of the GL to show that distribution. If we go back to the GL transaction, maybe I want to see this Allen Supplies. There's a storage unit rental, $800, and there's an invoice. So I want to see, you know, well, let's look at the details of that invoice, or has the check been cut yet? We go ahead and drill into that invoice. We'll actually see running a live link on top of, you know, the AP side of things. So here's the check number, here was the discount, gross amount, open amount, and what's still open on the purchase order. Look at the details of the purchase order. So again, you may not have managers drilling this far. You may have, you know, just the controller that's doing this, and so this is just depending upon, you know, how you want. But this is very nice to deliver some self-service BI for an analysis for those managers who want to get in and be able to answer their own questions. Typically, a lot of companies might be getting, you know, their month-end P&Ls or expense reports in, let's say, Excel or PDF, and they look at it and say, okay, I'm over budget $20,000. Why? And so they pick up the phone, maybe call someone in finance. Well, this is a way to kind of let them get all the way down to uncover, either answer the question or at least come back and pose the question back with a little bit more validation of why, based on what their research tells them. So let's go back, you know, the consolidated P&L. So that was kind of a view at the, you know, looking at kind of starting from a dashboard, drilling down to a report. Let's go ahead and close out of there And we go ahead and close out of this report as well. So we'll have a couple other reports here that we want to look at together. First is, we'll take a look at a balance sheet. So if I right-click on this, you'll see some options here. First is View. So View would be kind of View on demand, meaning that I want to run this right now. When I choose View, it's saying, okay, before I can run this, I need some parameters like the year and maybe the period. I can specify a company. If I leave it blank, it's going to say, okay, I just pull all companies by default. So we'll go ahead and choose OK. So that just ran, and now we've got our balance sheet. And so within our balance sheet, we can go in and say, okay, I want to look at, just like we did before, drill into cash, down to the business unit, down to the specific account, look at the details here. So just like not just P&Ls, but pretty much any financial report, you could drill all the way down through to the general ledger transaction as well. Okay, so that was we just viewed that on the fly. So that would have actually, right when we chose View and hit OK or Submit, it would have grabbed the data from JDE. So for instance, if, let's say right now we went in and posted a journal entry and hit the refresh button, that would then be returned into the report after we hit that little refresh icon there. Okay. So that was kind of what we refer to as kind of View on demand. Take a look at another example of a report. Here's like an income statement summary, and we'll choose, let's say, a schedule. So we schedule a report. We have a few different options. So, and traditionally, for most financial reports, finance or accounting will actually, when they close the books, they will schedule the reports, and then other management will just go ahead and open the reports that they've already run for them. There's a few different ways to do that. So management can have a link back to a folder, and they open the report, just pulls up the latest instance of that, or you can even push stuff out with a kind of more of a report bursting mechanism as well. So if I go here to recurrence, you can also set things up when you're scheduling a report. Say I want to run this report once. So if I choose once in the future, I can specify the time, or I want to say I want to run this weekly, pick what days I want to run it for, or I can run it by default right now. There's a lot of different options in setting up things to run on a recurring schedule. Let's go down to prompts. So I run this for a different month, different in this case prompts for quarter to date, year to date, month to date. I could change those parameters if I wanted. I go to formats. So by default, this was a crystal report, so this might be run as a crystal report format. But you might want to run this to another type format to share with people for some reason. So let's say maybe we want to send this as a PDF. I specify the PDF. I go to destinations. By default, this enterprise location is within the web architecture of BusinessObjects. So this would be, you could actually run the report to this default location, or you could even do things like to someone's inbox. So you could have a report run and be sitting at someone's inbox to BusinessObjects, or even email, FTP, or file system. So if you want to have a report automatically saved to the network drive, you could do that. Or with email, it's kind of nice because you could specify the email. You could send this out as an attachment, or if you didn't want to send an attachment, you could actually send out a viewer hyperlink. So that'll actually just email out to the user the URL, which is nice because if it's confidential information, if that user does not have rights to where that information resides within the system, they won't be able to access that. Where if you actually send out the physical attached PDF, then that may be accidentally forwarded to the wrong individual, and you have less control over who's viewing that type of sensitive information. So I'm just going to leave it as default enterprise location right now. And once you're done just going through your different options for the schedule, we can go ahead and choose schedule. And this is going to go ahead and run and take us to this little history screen. If I look at the history, you'll see right now it says pending, and if I hit refresh, it'll actually say running, and then once it's completed, it'll go ahead and say success, and just updated to say success. Okay. So when it reports success, you can click on the instance time, and it'll open that up. So now this is the report, this kind of one-page looking summary type P&L. This is kind of interesting. It's a kind of like a pivoted P&L. Typically, you'd have sales, gross profit, overhead, net income as your rows, and actuals and budgets for quarter date or month to date or what have you as columns. But this kind of looks at actual versus budget, and put it on side. So you could actually see what might be one page of a traditional P&L and one row of data here at a very high level. This could theoretically drill into this as well. But that's kind of another option for scheduling report. So again, we start from a dashboard, drill down to a P&L. We opened up a balance sheet, view that on the fly, drill down through that, showed you how to schedule a report, choosing a different type of format like a PDF. There's also this reporting package. So you can also say, okay, let's say for month end, finance has several reports that need to be packaged together and merged. So they're all separate, but they need to be blended together for what gets delivered to management or some specific executives. So if I go ahead and right-click on this and choose View Latest Instance, it'll actually open up this package of reports, and I can view the balance sheet. In this case, I took about 5 financial-related reports: a balance sheet, consolidated income statement, which we saw earlier, that summary one we just ran, an open AP aging and an open AR aging report. So we could actually look at these PDFs individually, but we also chose when we ran this to actually create a package of this. So if I go ahead and look at that financial reporting package and open that, it'll go ahead and let me go back here. I think I was playing with that earlier. So by default, there'll be kind of a table of contents page at the top. So if I click on that, and then I can go ahead from this table of contents and click on the specific report, it'll take me directly to that. I can still navigate back here. The table of contents, it'll directly take me to where that is in the merged document. You can also go in here and click on the table of contents within the PDF and say, okay, I want to go directly to the report from the drop down here as well. Here's, in this case, maybe it's an as of aging. So this is very nice to be able to kind of merge different reports together, and you can even have some that are portrait and landscape kind of all come in as the format that they should be. That's just a functionality called publications, and it also has a lot of built-in bursting, so you can push content out if you wanted to users by the specific division. So you could have a report run and break by division and have each division manager get just their piece of that report as well. Okay. So that was just an example of a financial reporting package. So that's kind of what we wanted to show, just a little flavor on some of the financials. So now we're going to kind of take a little deeper dive into analyzing some sales. A few different things we want to show. First, we're going to start with kind of more of a sales visualization and analysis. If I right-click on this sales analysis and choose View, this is going to open up. This is uses a functionality called Explorer, and this resides on top of a universe. And that universe, again, is that layer that's doing a lot of that translation. What's unique about this is that this is built on top of our sales universe for JDE. We've just handpicked, a handful of measures and dimensions. The measures would be calculated objects like, you can see here, extended amount, current year, CY for current year, year to date, quarter to date, month to date, PY for prior year, gross profit, quantity ordered. So it gives you an idea. Well, I've got this year to date selected. I can see total year to date sales by channel or by region or sales rep, customer. So whatever dimensions you've selected for this view is what shows you those. If I want to look at maybe prior year activity, if I just click on the prior year, you can see that those columns be updated now. That's all prior year sales. Okay, let's go back to current year. What if I wanted to graphically see below my year over year sales? If I click on year to date and grab and hold Control on my keyboard and select prior year, I can now see this chart of my year-over-year sales. Okay, if I want to go ahead and I can still use this as a filter above. So let's say I want to look at just retail. If I click on that retail from one of those columns, it creates a filter on retail, and now I can see retail total sales broken down by region or sales rep just based on that specific filter. You can also filter by clicking in the chart as well. So if we want to look at just Northeast, I go ahead and double-click in the chart. It'll create a filter on Northeast. I can go ahead and remove that here or change that right here as well. It's also changing based on its kind of best guess at what the next thing we want to analyze. So in this case, it said the next thing on your list was sales rep. So you might want to see the breakdown by sales rep. What if we wanted to go ahead and look at this as a pie chart instead of a bar chart. So now we can see our breakdown by sales rep. What if we want that instead of sales rep to be, say, product group? So now we could see our breakdown by the different product groups. And what if we wanted to add to that, let's say, gross profit as well? All right, so now we can see this is our year-to-date sales, prior year, and here's our year-to-date gross profit as well. You also notice the little table on the right that kind of gives us our breakdown with the percentage and the total dollars there as well. So again, it's just by clicking around, we're dynamically filtering the data and changing our charts. What if we want to analyze maybe some activity by month? So if I go ahead and choose our month of GL date, okay, I don't want to see that as a pie chart. It would make more sense for us to see that maybe as a trend chart. So I go here to a trend, okay, and maybe we want to see that from 1. So if I just mouse over, we can kind of see the trend of our sales year over year and our gross profit. And I just mouse over each point there of each month. It kind of gives me what the values are. Let's go ahead and get rid of Northeast as an example so we can see total retail sales and the trend for total retail sales. If I go ahead and get rid of retail, I can now see our total sales. Okay. So what if we wanted to maybe look at this just differently here? So if I go ahead and drop down here and choose like product group as an example. And let's change our trend chart to be maybe these. And if we can actually go ahead and visualize here to get rid of our bar at the top so we can kind of see these graphically. So now we can see kind of a trend with a breakdown there of each data point there for each of our different product groups. Maybe if you want to break it down and see each month, so month 1 with a breakdown by product group, 2, 3, so we can kind of see, you know, a dynamic. So this is, again, by just allowing users to click and drill and analyze and just select. So it's kind of one of the simpler forms of ad hoc. And the great thing about this is that this can all be done, again, via a mobile device as well. So this is, again, what's referred to as BusinessObjects Explorer. And it gives you kind of real quick and dirty analysis of the data. So that's kind of what we want to show as one type of analysis. And this doesn't just have to be for sales. This is great for accounts receivable, purchasing. You can do the same thing on general ledger as well. So that was a sales example. If I go back here to looking at, now we're going to kind of do a little bit more hands-on ad hoc. So if I go ahead and look at, this is where we've already gone in and I kind of built a template from our universe. So I go ahead and choose Modify on the Sales Ad Hoc report. This is using a functionality called Web Intelligence. And as far as ad hoc goes out there, it's hard to beat the functionality of Web Intelligence with any ad hoc tool. You know, once people get the hang of this, it seems to be their go-to tool from an ad hoc and query type perspective. So these are the objects that we've selected from a universe. We'll show you in a minute, going against a purchasing example, where we'll go in and build a purchasing report from scratch, not from a template. We've actually got this, so we're going to go ahead and just start drag and dropping. We selected, like I said, like before, you know, a handful of objects from our sales universe, even though we've got a lot more objects in the sales universe that's exposed right here. So let's first start by giving this a name. So let's say we want to look first by product sales within each region. So if I go region and product, okay. So if I go ahead and find my sold to region, I can just left click on that and drag that right into my canvas. And it's going to give me one row of data. And that's the beauty of an ad hoc tool when it's automatically going to aggregate based on the unique. Now there could be millions of rows of data. There could be thousands of transactions. There could be tons of volume behind here. It's going to come and say, okay, you've asked to see data by region. Let's aggregate all that data by region. So let's take a look at maybe our year-to-date, current year year-to-date, extended amount, and our prior year year-to-date. Okay. So if we want to go ahead and do a sum across those, I can go ahead and select the value. If we go to Analysis tab and choose Functions, I can do a sum. And let's sum our prior year as well. Okay. So what if we wanted, again, product? We wanted sales by region and product. If I were to go and grab product and just drag that on top of my region, it'll actually swap it out. So now I'm actually looking at this by product instead of region, but I want this to be region and then by product. So if I go back to my region, drag that into the canvas here, and I can see here now it's going to create one row of aggregated data by region and product. But I can also group on the data. So if I choose region, I can right click on that and choose set as a section. And that will create a section for each region, and then I can get the breakdown of each product, okay, our product group. Take this block of data. I'm going to hold control on my keyboard and just drag this to the right. And now if we go ahead and take that block of data and choose turn into, I can turn that into, let's say, a column chart. Okay. So now we've got our data, in a table format as well as a chart as well. The nice thing is, typically this might be just one view of the data. Let's say we want to see another tab that's showing us our breakdown of channel broken down, sales rep within each channel. Okay, so if we go in and I can right click on this tab, kind of like a spreadsheet, you got different worksheets, same kind of concept here. I can duplicate the report on another tab, and let's call this channel and or just to channel and customer instead of sales rep. Okay. So if we go in here and say my sold to channel, and I'll just drag that on top of what we had here as our region. I'll swap that out. Right now it's still doing channel and then product group, and I want that to be customer instead. So we'll go to our sold to customer name, drop that in there. Okay, so now we're actually getting our, let's say we want to look at maybe just the top 5 customers within, we can go ahead and just click on the ranking here, add a ranking, and look at top 5, and we could do this based on extended amount. Okay, and choose OK. Okay, so that's an example there. We could also go, let's say we wanted to look at, instead of looking at our year-over-year sales, we want to look at our sales and gross profit. Again, we just grab our gross profit year-to-date, drag that over, and now we're looking at, sales and then gross profit. We also, do calculations here and do new variables. So you've got this wizard to be able to do calculations for any type of calc pretty much that you need to do, and it'll recalculate at any aggregated level that you have there. So let's say we want to take this chart though and turn this into a pie chart maybe, and we're actually still charting this by product group, and so I need to go in here and assign this data. Instead of product group, we want this to be maybe our sold to customer name. So now we can kind of see our chart truly reflecting what our value is on the left. Okay. So when you can create multiple tabs here, and the nice thing about this is that to refresh this, if we go ahead and just hit the refresh button, we can go ahead and refresh it. It'll actually go out there. It's going to prompt say what through date do you want? Do you want to filter it down to specific things like company or sold to specific customers? We can kind of go ahead and see a list of customers there. I'm just going to go ahead and leave just a through date and pull all by default. And now it's going to go out there. So right now it's going out there to the data source. In this case, it would be real-time JDE, grabbing any updates to the data that fit the criteria, the filtering that we specified, and returning that back to the report. Okay, so it's real-time. It's not dynamically refreshing against the JDE data every second. You tell it when you say, okay, go out there and grab an updated piece of data. So now at this point, this will be now reflecting whatever's in JDE. Okay. And you can also go into the data and edit and pull different objects or add specific fields if you want. So that's kind of starting from a template. You can also go in and do a save or save as. Save this query back to the system and refresh it and run it. So you're kind of building these kind of ad hoc, but it could also be building out a nicely formatted report that you then run every week, every month, every day, what have you. So it's a nice utility for that as well. Okay. So let's take a look at another example. So if we go and look at on the purchasing side, we have a template there. You could start from that. But just to show you, if we were truly starting from scratch from a universe and not taking a report that had already been built, let's say we want to look at our open amount and quantities on the purchasing side of things. So if I go to Applications and choose Web Intelligence, it'll actually open up the app here. And if we want to choose New, so say, okay, I want to build a report from a universe. So you do have to have a universe in place, and that's kind of why we deliver, the universes for the different modules. But so we go in here and pick on this. Choose Select. So I'm selecting this purchase order detail universe, and it'll be organized. So the users don't have to know about, the 4311 linking to the 4101 to the, 101, all that. So that's all kind of done behind the scenes within the universe. But you can just go in and just drag and drop into. So these are the few different levels here. We've got the objects that we want to query, filters we want to add to our query, and you can actually look at a data preview to see what that data may look like. So in this case, I'm going to keep it very simple. We just want to pull, let's say, our supplier name. I'll double click on that, or you can just drag and drop. Maybe I want my item or account number. And within that, maybe we want to get down to just our open amount. So if I go down here to amounts and units and choose amounts, we can see amount open. Go to our quantities, choose quantity open. And we could drag any object into the filters here and create a dynamic filter off of it. But a lot of times you already will set up some canned filters for what makes sense based on the modules that you're in. In this case, open amounts is one of our predefined filters. So it's by default only going to pull back data that's open. Once you've selected your different the objects to query and your filters, go ahead and choose Run Query. It's going out to JDE right now, grabbing from the JDE system and bringing back to this tab the different objects that met that criteria. So just like we did before, we can go in here, take our supplier, and set that as a section. Okay. Expand our columns. Let's go in here, add some, some for units. We can go in here and format. So if I want to format, our quantities without decimals, we can do that. Okay. At this moment, let's say that we wanted to go back and, refresh it. So I know something just got entered in the system. We hit refresh, go back, refresh the data. Now, when you create a section here as well, there's something else I wanted to point out. It also creates a group tree. Oh, let me save that. Maybe it just needs to update itself. Okay. Okay. Try that one more time. So when it creates that, so the section in essence creates a group tree, which is nice for navigational purposes, where if I want to go right to a specific supplier, you can click on that group tree and you'll see it'll take you right to that location. So you might have, your data returning back, tens or hundreds of pages per se, and this gives you that quick navigation to what you're looking for. So that's kind of a quick example on the purchasing side for kind of open POs. So last thing we're going to do before we kind of open up for questions is show you kind of an example here with a mobile on like an iPad. So let me go ahead and come back here. Of course, now my iPad AirPlay doesn't want to work. Let me try this again. There it goes. Okay. Go ahead and ignore the 4-year-old apps on the iPad there. My daughter would be thankful. I'm going to go ahead and choose, let's say SAP BI as an example. And this kind of has a password, so, that way if you don't want people seeing it's sensitive information. I put in my very cryptic password there. And then I'm going to have to log in, authenticate with the system, so I'll go ahead and log back in as a CFO. Okay. So, this, we can actually, reports that have been specified as type of content for this. If I want to look at, say, that consolidated income statement, and just switch this on its side here, right? So just like we saw before, we can click in and click on the different levels and see those. And it'll give me those different views of the data based on, go back. Okay. You can also drill. So if we want to go ahead and drill into this, again, just like we did before, so we want to drill into that labor line, we can go ahead and drill into that. It gives that same breakdown, just kind of drilling through all the way back. So if we go, go back into that, hit the wrong back button there. So if we go in here and say, so even from an iPad per se, I want to go ahead and drill into that rent expense line and get the detail of the GL transactions. I can still do the same thing here, just like we did on the desktop. Okay. So now we're looking at, again, that drill down from the P&L. Okay. So the other thing, when you actually those similar type of ad hoc reports, so this is like a sales ad hoc demo. If I go ahead and view this, okay, so this, whatever the different sections are, you can pull that out and click on the different sections. It'll give you that view of the data and the chart to the right. And if I go ahead, different tabs. If I set up multiple tabs, I can choose a different tab from above. In this case, remember we had the pie chart, and we can go ahead and click on the breakdown here of the different levels. Okay. So if I just grab the mouse here on the right, I can go around the different chart and see the pieces. Okay. Also, that sales exploration and analysis that we did is also available via the iPad as well. All right. So that's kind of want to give a quick flavor of that. And let's just wrap up a couple slides. And then we'll open this up for questions. So implementation timeline. So BusinessObjects, it's a BI reporting software, runs on a web server, and typically most companies will run this on a virtual server. And if you want any information about hardware requirements, we'd be happy to share it. So that where it runs. To get that installed takes us a couple days, pretty much just to get the keys and downloads real quick, and then it's just a matter of you can actually get something functional within a matter of half a day or so. But then there's just all the steps to configure the stuff, set up the different folders, so organize how you want to control and secure the content, and then we ace it to install our universe. It takes us a couple days. And then the templates and samples, a few days for that. And then, like I was telling you earlier, we do the income statements and balance sheets specifically to your row hierarchies and your drill paths and all that. And that takes us a few days to get those configured to your specifications as well. So all in all, it's very quick implementation to get this level of access at the data, this quickly. So it's really a matter of days and you're up and running. As far as upcoming webinars, this is the third of 4 we're doing this month. So we're doing our data warehouse for JD Edwards webinar tomorrow. Highly recommend you attend that if you can. And then if you're going to Collaborate, we're doing 4 presentations at Collaborate. We've got a data warehousing session on Tuesday at 4:15. We've got a Microsoft Excel and Power Pivot session 4:30 on Wednesday. We've got a BI Publisher session on Thursday, and then we've got doing a joint presentation with Cliff Bar on Friday. So I definitely highly recommend, if you're going to be at the show, flag that Friday session. It's going to be a great session. with our friends at ClickBar.